One Piece chapter 1083 was a massive knowledge dump. We get a lot of new info in this chapter. The truth of that day being the title of the chapter is extremely fitting. We learned so much about what happened at the Reverie on that day, and we actually see things that could change the entire course of the whole story that we know. We may see things in this story that could change Luffy's journey, things that are directly going to affect him if it turns out that the theories circulating around this particular silhouette, which we'll get into in a little while, turn out to be true. Let's go ahead and hop into this chapter, but before we do, my name is Richard, this is my wife Claire.
Hello.
Welcome to One Piece of a Dream. If you're new here, we're happy to have you. Let's go ahead and hop right into the story. So the chapter begins with cover art of Doflamingo, and it's just a fan request. It's just him putting a bandit on a bird, not really important.
I think it's sweet.
It's neat, not relevant to the story, and people were upset about it. Let's go ahead and actually get into the story though. We start back with the last one left off, with Sabo explaining to Dragon and Ivankov about what happened the day at the Reverie, as the title suggests. And as we see, Ivankov and Dragon are intently listening as Sabo explains to them that they completed all of their goals and the mission was indeed successful. The things they actually set out to do were destroy the Celestial Dragon symbol, which they did. Instead of, as Luffy destroyed the flag of the world government, they destroyed something even more valuable, something that likely has a lot of meaning to the Celestial Dragons, which apparently somehow Dragon and them were aware existed. I guess they've somehow been to Marijoeis and would know this, which makes us have to wonder either they have intelligence spies spying in on Marijoeis, or they have actually had a reason to be there before. Maybe the idea that Dragon could be a Celestial Dragon, or married to one, or something like that. Maybe those theories could hold water. Hard to say. Now, as far as we go with everything else that happened, they managed to free a lot of slaves. They managed to do a lot of damage by destroying food supplies. Very important things that typical war would actually entail.
They freed Kuma.
And that they did manage to free Bartholomew Kuma, as we know, and Kuma is currently now back at the Red Line trying to climb back for some sort of contingency plan, and we have no idea what that is just yet. But it seems that this isn't probably just to go back to be a slave again, because he is attacking Marines, which you would think if he was trying to go back to be a slave, that he wouldn't be having a battle with the Marines. He would know.
Probably not.
Yeah, he's a cyborg, almost android at this point. He would know not to be attacking the people that he was enslaved to. So I think that he's trying to complete some sort of mission that's now been essentially activated, because Kuma was a revolutionary and Vegapunk was in a way on Dragon's side. So there is a possibility that Vegapunk programmed something into Kuma that Kuma's currently enacting. But that's not really the important part of this chapter. What is important here is that we learn a lot about what happened at the Reverie that day. Now, some stuff that we kind of already knew. Obviously, the Revolutionaries, it was theorized, got into a fight with Admirals Fujitora and Greenbull, and they did. Ryokugyu and Fujitora got into a direct conflict with the captains of the Revolutionary Army. We see Morley fighting Greenbull, and Greenbull getting stabbed. Now, obviously, the Revolutionaries, they're probably going to be strong, but are they really going to be as strong as, say, someone like Shanks, who can just scare Greenbull off with Wi-Fi hockey? Hard to say. But they clearly were able to do some damage, but the Admirals were also threatened by the Celestial Dragons that if they hurt them, essentially go all out and cause too much chaos and destruction, they would be hung. So the Admirals were nerfed in this fight. They were
messed up, really.
Yeah, it's messed up. You're telling the people that are trying to obviously protect you, that obviously are not going to hurt you, that if they go all out and do too much craziness, that you're going to have them executed. That's something that says quite a bit about, well, we already knew the Celestials were scum, but that says quite a bit about their situation in this fight, which means that even though CP0 did say that the Revolutionary captains were doing extremely well against the Admirals, which you have to say they are Admirals, so even though they were holding back, they were still getting pushed back. So ultimately, even though the Revolutionaries did not care if they destroyed Marijoeis, the Admirals indeed did, but they still were getting pushed back on, which makes you have to wonder, were the Revolutionaries using their full force either? I mean, you would assume they were, because they really want to get this mission done, so they more than likely would be attacking with their full power. The Admirals, maybe some are stronger than others. Maybe Fujitora is a lot stronger than Greenbull or something like that, because Fujitora is actually preparing a very massive attack. He's trying to bring down a meteor. Fujitora just don't give a shit.
I like Fujitora. He's funny.
Yeah, he's ready to bring down hell upon Marijoeis and just not care. Probably because Fujitora has his own, ideas of justice and just doesn't really give a crap if he does hurt the Celestials. However, these Celestials making these threats, immediately Ryokugyu's like, hey, you better not do that. Are you stupid? Karasu is actually the one fighting Fujitora, and it's hard to say just how well that fight went, but clearly the Admirals having to hold back, if they both did, and Fujitora did indeed actually hold himself back, they actually did end up, not winning this overall battle. Now, this is just a battle in essentially a large-scale war that's about to take place. The Revolutionaries are quite literally fighting for a war. They're trying to start one with the world government, and they are successfully doing that. Freeing slaves, destroying the symbol, cutting off supply ships, cutting off their food. Literally, they have brought down quite a bit of hell to Marijoeis.
Certainly the right way to go about it.
And there's apparently a force even stronger than the Admirals that we now have to contend with, which are the Holy Knights, which we're going to get into in a second because that is the biggest deal of this entire chapter. The Holy Knights are actually brought up by Dragon, and the silhouette that we see of one of the Holy Knights is going to cause quite a bit of chaos in the community.
Sus.
It's very sus, and we're going to get into that by the end of the video here. We're going to be discussing a very long theory that I have kind of came to, but first I want to cover the rest of this so that we can actually understand everything that happened and put context to every single thing that we can. After Dragon explains the Holy Knights, that they exist, which we already knew, but he shows silhouettes of them, which Oda loves to do. Oda really loves silhouetting people. He loves when he can make suspense happen through silhouettes.
He likes making things mysterious.
Yes, and that's part of why One Piece has gone on as long as it has, is due to these silhouettes. And the silhouette that we see of the one in the middle, well, that's quite a big deal. But before we delve into that, let's go ahead and discuss the rest of this. We see Bonnie at one point in the chapter. She's just running. Obviously, we see St. Charlos and his father. They're riding on Kuma. And, St. Charlos is pretty beaten up. But apparently, he still wants Shirahoshi. So that's kind of disgusting. Still, after all the crap that went down, he still wants to try to kidnap Shirahoshi and turn her into his, mermaid slave. I'm not going to get into the details.
When will he learn?
He probably won't learn. That's the truth here. He probably isn't going to learn, and he's probably going to remain a jackass. What we do see is we go and we see the newspaper article where Sabo is clearly standing next to the dead body of King Cobra, and then right after this, we actually get to see King Cobra, his meeting with the Gorosei. Obviously, it's pretty apparent that the Gorosei likely killed him. But this is where things get really interesting because we actually see that King Cobra was approved in audience with the Gorosei. So he would have had this meeting approved with the Gorosei. And if we remember right, when he was at the table, King Cobra was trying to delve into the Void Century. He wanted information and knowledge on the Void Century, and he just went to the Gorosei with an approved audience to go speak with them. Either they approved it so they could kill him, or maybe because he's a king and his family's one of the founders of the 20 kingdoms that actually founded the world government, maybe there is a possibility that he was allowed to be told the information, but he had to die afterwards because there was a risk that if he said the information out loud to anybody else, they may have to kill him. So maybe it's like a birthright, since he helped to found the ancient kingdom, that he would be allowed to actually know about what happened in the Void Century.
I don't know, but there's something really fishy going on here.
But we're going to get into the most fishy part of all of this in just a second. But I just want to point out that King Cobra did seem to think he was going to die during this meeting, because he told Pell and Chaka that they need to watch over Vivi and the rest of the nation. We also get a scene before this, by the way, of Vivi with Rob Lucci, and Vivi's like, I want Garp to protect me, not you. You're gonna protect me the way you protected Shirahoshi, which was not at all. Obviously, Rob Lucci did nothing to protect Shirahoshi because Rob Lucci answers directly to the Celestial Dragons, and the Celestial Dragons, if they say something, CP0 does it. That's
if you look
their
at
job.
his face in that panel too, you can tell he knows she's right, and there's nothing he can do to change that.
Rob Lucci just has to accept that he's the lapdog of the Celestial Dragons. I don't think he cares as long as he gets to kill people, because this is Rob Lucci we're talking about, but still, he is the lapdog of the dragons. Now we need to get into the most important part of this entire chapter, and that is the silhouette in the middle of the Holy Knights. The silhouette in the middle of the Holy Knights resembles somebody that we already know in the story quite well. It resembles red-haired Shanks. How do we figure that this is Shanks? Well, we figure it because the cloak looks the same, the hair looks the same, the body shape's the same, and most importantly, the sword Griffin is the same. Now, could this be another character that just looks like Shanks? Could this be a clone like their Seraphim?
Could it be his dad?
Could it be his dad? Could it be his uncle? His long lost brother? I doubt it. I have a feeling that from everything that's happened in the story, I'm starting to think that Shanks is plotting. And he's plotting something big. Now, I know many of you don't subscribe to the Shanks is evil theory. I'm not saying he's evil, but I am saying something is sus, okay? Not only do we see that Shanks may be one of these Holy Knights, that he is silhouetted out to be one, but if you really think about this, and you go back to the beginning of the story, where Shanks, has the Gum Gum fruit, or the Hito Hito no Mi Model Nika, and Luffy eats it, this is where things get kind of muddy. We know that he can go into the Gorosei and have a meeting with them and all that stuff, right? We know Shanks has some ties to the world government, and we know that he was found at God Valley, and, potentially could be a Celestial Dragon. Now, say that Shanks really does work with the world government. Why on earth would Shanks have allowed Luffy to eat this fruit? And why on earth would Shanks not have put a stop to him right then and there? Unless there's a plan here that Shanks needs to help the world government in completing. Why is Shanks all of a sudden interested in the One Piece? Clearly, he wants to carry out Roger's ambition. That's what's been portrayed. But isn't there something that adds up with this that makes it a little bit suspicious? Isn't it the fact that the world government, knowing that the fruit was stolen, Luffy making himself a parent at 17, and having to beat multiple people before they even give him a bounty, wouldn't it make sense that the world government may very well have been allowing Luffy to do all this on purpose? Maybe they want Luffy to find the One Piece. The world government has indeed tried to stop him as a pirate, pirate. They've indeed tried to, put their foot down at some points to try to prevent Luffy from being able to succeed in his goals, but in reality, they haven't put down the amount of fighting force they should have. They were aware the entire time that the Gum Gum no Mi was actually the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. They were completely aware of this.
And they waited until he was stronger and full grown.
They waited until he had took down Kaido, first of all, for us to get the information drop, but second of all, to actually pay attention. And even then, they don't want the world knowing about it. They'd rather try to snuff this out, cover it up, and make it look like he's not that special, than actually just send out all the warships to take him out. Now, this could be argued that this is because, well, if they do that, it shows that they're scared and that there's something that the world government believes is a threat. But at the same time, since when does the government actually care if the world realizes that they find something to be a threat? They destroyed Ohara without a second thought. They put a 70+ million berry bounty on Robin as a child. But you're telling me that they won't go after Joy Boy, literally, the reincarnation of Joy Boy, the literal eater of the Gum Gum no Mi, or the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, the Sun God Nika fruit, the very thing that supposedly is supposed to oppose them, and is supposedly the biggest threat in existence to the world government. You are trying to tell me right now that the world government wouldn't have just simply set out an armada to take down a weak 17-year-old Luffy when he left at sea.
No, even when he, had just first eaten the fruit. He was a kid.
Yeah, even when he just started making a name for himself. Say they wanted to just give it a chance and see if it just rides out and he doesn't do anything crazy. Maybe he joins up with them. Whatever. When he made his name as a pirate, the government should have then put their foot down, came out, and basically sent an admiral to go deal with him. Now, you could argue, oh, well, it's Garp's grandson. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because, they respect Garp. But at the same time, I don't think that matters, because since when do the Marines ever care what you are to them? They will destroy you without a second thought if you oppose them in any way or capacity. Look at Vegapunk right now. They are sending literally 100 warships right now, double the amount that were sent after Whitebeard when Ace was being killed at Marineford. They ended up sending out double that, plus a Gorosei and Kizaru, to go and try to take down one old man just because he has technology. They're going to do that for Vegapunk. They believe that he was that much of a threat, and they did this without even realizing that Luffy would be there. That was completely random happenstance that Luffy was there, and they see it as killing two birds with one stone, something the government seems to do a lot. The same thing that happened with Leloucia. When Leloucia was destroyed, they thought that Sabo was there, obviously, but they didn't do it because of Sabo being there or the fact that Sabo did indeed see Emu. They did this because they wanted to destroy it and saw this as a bonus. Now, is there a reason that the world government would let Luffy live? Maybe a reason that Shanks wouldn't have been so upset over a literal sun god Nika fruit being eaten by a little boy, other than the fact that there's nothing he could do about it, and you could argue Shanks is a nice god. Well, how nice is Shanks really? Let's be honest here. We know he's super strong, but is he really that nice? Why does he want the One Piece now? You could argue, oh, he wants to, compete against Luffy, to have Luffy test himself as a pirate, whatever. But no, Shanks wanted to do this when he was younger. He was going to find the One Piece when he was younger. It was part of his dreams to find the One Piece. He just wasn't acting upon it until things were set up properly. This man is plotting something. And now we see a silhouette of somebody that looks just like Shanks, literally working directly for the Celestial Dragons as one of their highest fighting forces. And you expect me to believe that Shanks is not plotting. Look, I love Shanks' character, and so far he's great. I could be totally wrong. This could just be a clone. This could be anything. This could be a whole host of things. This is One Piece. Nothing is black and white. But if this is indeed Shanks, which the evidence is starting to point to, what is Shanks doing? Look, what's the end goal here? What does he want? Does he obviously probably knows what the One Piece is. Him and Buggy probably both do. So, is there a purpose behind this? Because we know that Shanks is likely a Celestial Dragon who has found a treasure chest at God Valley, which is the home of the Celestial Dragons at one point. And quite literally, Shanks can go and speak to the top members of the world government with a 4 billion berry bounty on his head without any, any problem at all. If this is a clone of him, maybe that was not Shanks in the first place. Maybe that was like a clone of Shanks that went and spoke to the Gorosei. Maybe this was hella foreshadowing. Or maybe Shanks really does work for the world government as one of these holy knights, and he's allowed amnesty to go do whatever he feels like, and he's enacting a plan as a double agent for the world government, working as one of the top tier pirates, and at the same time trying to set up the world government's agenda to actually complete the thing that they need to complete. It's starting to seem like Joy Boy finding the One Piece as a necessary key for the world government to be able to complete something that they actually want to do. Maybe the eradication of all pirates. Maybe there is a reason the world government wants this to happen. Maybe Emu has separate goals. We know that Emu seems to be upset with Luffy. We've seen that Emu has the giant straw hat. We've seen that Emu chops up pictures of people. We've seen all that. But really, Why would the world government not have just immediately smited Luffy out if they had the ability to? They could literally have used their sky weapon used to destroy Leloucia to destroy the town that Luffy came, or at least just destroy Luffy at sea. Yeah.
I like this theory. I can picture this actually happening.
Because there were so many methods they could have used to destroy Luffy before he became a threat. But here we are today, Luffy standing tall as an emperor, obviously main character plot armor, whatever, but still, they could have pretty much taken Luffy out in a variety of ways long before this became an issue, and they knew he had the Gum Fruit. The second he started making a name for himself in the East Blue, a 30 million berry bounty is not enough. Okay, 30 million berries for somebody that would eventually become who Luffy is today, when a child, Nico Robin, can get a 70 plus million berry bounty. Something is not adding up here. They wanted Luffy to do all this. This was planned by the world government themselves. Imu is plotting something is going down, and Shanks is the one acting as the guide for Luffy to actually end up fulfilling whatever goal it is that the world government has. They know that the One Piece is something that needs to be found by Joy Boy, probably. They know that it has to happen. Maybe there's nothing they could do about it. Maybe they're trying to entrap it. Maybe they're realizing that the fruit will do what the fruit wants, and if Luffy ate the fruit, this is just destiny, and they're not going to try to fight that, and they're going to let him find the One Piece, and it will start this war that was talked about by Whitebeard. Whitebeard knows what the One Piece is, and he told Sengoku that when the One Piece is found, there was going to be a massive war that the world government can't stop. And the world government is aware of this. They're clearly scared of this, but maybe there is actually a reason that they want to let this go through. Maybe Joy Boy finding the One Piece will unlock something that the world government could take advantage of as well. And maybe Shanks, if he really is working for the world government, could be behind all of this, and he's actually trying to take advantage of this. He needs to be there when Joy Boy finds the One Piece so that he can use it. Maybe it's like something Joy Boy needs to activate, and Shanks needs to actually be there to utilize it. It's starting to look like that could be the case. Maybe Shanks could then claim the One Piece. Maybe it's something that just can't be removed until Joy Boy goes there and claims it and activates it, like maybe like a Sword of Excalibur or some sort of deal. I'm not saying it's a sword or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you know how you can't remove the sword unless you're worthy? Maybe Joy Boy is the only person that can remove it, and maybe by the end of all of this, when Luffy actually gets the One Piece, Shanks is going to try and steal it out from under him, give it to the world government, and Imu's going to try to utilize it because even Imu can't use it. Or maybe it's something crazy along those lines. Or maybe Imu really is like an ancient immortal void century brother of Joy Boy who just happens to still be alive, and they're having some sort of family feud thing over power or something. I don't know. There's so much that this could be. I really want to know what you guys think down in the comments, because this opens up such a realm of discussion. I am just so mind-boggled at how this could possibly add up to Shanks being a holy knight. How he could be in two places at once. Maybe he really can. Oh, and something I want to point out. Oda was actually asked in SBS why sometimes he forgets to draw Shanks with a scar. Oda said sometimes maybe I just forget, but there was another portion of this that was actually redacted on this. So either there is a version of Shanks with no scar that could be like the Seraphim sort of deal, like a clone, which is likely, and maybe this is all wrong, and Shanks actually is a good guy, and this is just like a brother or clone or something like that, or his father or mother, not mother, sorry, but his father, and maybe that's the deal, maybe it's just somebody that they cloned because Shanks is naturally strong. Or Shanks really is working for the world government because he's a celestial dragon. He wanted to claim his heritage. He's actually got that craziness, because we got to remember, for the most part, the celestial dragons are mostly insane and basically inhuman. Obviously, Roger raised, Shanks to be human, more humanitarian. But what if Shanks secretly was still insane on the inside because his celestial dragon blood, his brain, was just born that way? What if it's something that they're just born into being? Obviously, that's probably not the case. That made me
so sad.
Maybe it's only with some of them, because clearly, I think Milnir, he obviously turned good from Queen Otahime and everything that went down with that. Doflamingo is a great example. Fallen Celestial Dragon, he went to go live among the people, and he just turned worse and more hatred, more evil, whatever. Maybe Shanks was working so hard to get to where he's at so that he could claim his birthright status as a celestial dragon and at least have some semblance of power. And maybe he's able to get that semblance of power and spread it out across the world even more because of the emperor status, all that stuff, and he also gets immunity from the government. He could be like the ultimate warlord, except an emperor at the same time. I could literally sit here and go on about how Shanks might be working for the world government all day, things that he could be doing, the reasons the world government might be allowing this to go through, all of the things that potentially could lead to a different ending than what we expect in the story, and Luffy facing new challenges that we don't expect in the story. And then I could be completely wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that it's all a possibility now. The doors are open. The floodgates could be flooding in with Shanks being potentially not such a nice guy after all. But we've seen his fleets, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest he is, and this could always be a clone. You don't know.
If you are right, though, and later on we see Luffy having to deal with Shanks' betrayal, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, well, just put it this way. There's got to be a reason why the world government didn't shut Luffy down when they had the chance. They knew about it, and if Shanks is evil, clearly, if he was one of the Holy Knights, he was aware that Luffy had the Hito no Mi model Nika, and so were the Gorosei. So they would have done something then and there if they didn't want this to happen. They did want it to happen, and this actually does help for the world government's agenda. Obviously, they're not good. No government that keeps people enslaved, and the way that the world, the Celestial Dragons act, the world nobles, the way they act, no good person would ever act that way.
Absolutely not.
What if the One Piece is, like, stronger than any ancient weapon? What if the One Piece is, like, ultimately some sort of weapon that can be used to destroy entire planets or something? What if they want that weapon so they can keep control over the entire world? What if they can use that weapon to keep a clamp on the world that literally Imu could come out with that and stop the world from revolting, because Imu's been sitting on the empty throne this whole time, but Joy Boy made it, and Joy Boy is the one that ultimately needs to activate it. I don't know, man. There's just so much with this.
There's a lot you could say.
There's so many theories that are going to be thrown around. I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments. There's so much we could say about this chapter. I could go on all day. Anyway, that's all we got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, tap notification bell, and please, if you did enjoy it, then maybe consider watching another video popping up on screen right about now. And until then, next video, we'll see you. Peace.
Bye.